Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Modern Divorce Podcast. It's July 25th, 2022. And I guess the last week, there's a lot of billionaire news and divorce, right? So like yesterday, I was reading about Elon Musk and his family are in the news when you put divorce or whatever. But so the first thing he's in is he's getting divorced. Supposedly they broke up the Google founder's marriage, where Elon Musk had an affair with Sergey Brin's wife, and now they're in the process of a divorce, which I don't know the prenup kind of thing, but that looks like if there's not, there's going to be another like billionaire. It's like billionaires are such powerful people that they're still not immune to divorce.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's almost even the more you have in California, the more you're going to have to give away. So a prenup does help, but anything acquired during the marriage is joint property if you don't have a prenup. And even with a prenup, there's a question of how much is protected. Depends what your prenup says, and depends if it holds up in court. So you definitely have big risks there.
I hate to bring this up, but I have. So Elon Musk's father is I don't know if this is divorce news, but he's expecting a child with his. He married his stepdaughter. So how does this? So stepdaughter marriages are okay legally in court, I assume.
Well, I mean, if she's of age and not related to him and he's divorced already from her mom, then it's technically okay. It's weird and strange, but it's legally permissible. And even though it's not divorce, a lot of we deal with a lot of paternity issues where people are unmarried and, but they still have custody battles and child support. So that certainly is a topic that would relate to that. And, there's big child support obligations when you father all these children.
I'm speechless. I don't know how to follow it up. But let's get into the show. Let's get into the part where we go over the news via, Google and what's trending and what's in the news. We get a lot of celebrity news, billionaire news. People write in and see what they could get from writing online, and we kind of break it down here. A lot of things are true. Sometimes they're false. We'll see. All right, here we go. So let's get into this one. TMZ is always fun for us. We kind of like to have fun. And what do they say? Like sipping the tea or stirring the tea. So we're doing that right now. I'm horrible at it. Bringing it up, but okay. So Chuck Lorre, you ever watch it? Just 2.5 Men. Oh
yeah, I love that show.
So he's a creator, and he's filing for divorce. So this is looks like today's
he creates a lot of shows, so that's interesting. He's gonna have to pay out a lot if there's no prenup.
You'd have to do more shows to pay for these, I assume. Okay. So let's get into it. So he's closing the curtain on his third marriage. He's filing for divorce according to legal docs, of course, obtained by TMZ. The king of sitcoms is ending things with Ariel Lorre, about 3.5 years of marriage. The doc states the two have a prenup in place, and Chuck will pay spousal support as well as attorney fees. So he's repped by Laura Wasser. I think we talked about this.
Yeah, she's the big one.
The super lawyer.
Reps all the celebrities.
So Laura Wasser lists irreconcilable differences as the reason for the split. So they got hitched in October of 2018 and ended things in May of 2022. No children. So Forbes estimates he's worth an estimated 650 million. And so this is his third marriage. So what can we expect with this? So the prenup, he's agreed to spousal support. Like aside from like the emotional cost of it, and maybe so this is like the going through these like whole thing. It's like running a business, like a small business or a medium-sized business. This is millions of dollars.
Did you say they were married in 2022?
2018, or let's see,
2018.
it's 3.5 years. So October 2018 to May 2022. That's how these things are. This is a long marriage in the modern world. And especially Hollywood too, where
right. Well, it is
a year. A year is like a decade. It's like dog years, I guess.
It is a long marriage in Hollywood, that's for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, if you have a prenup, it can limit, it depends on whatever you put in there, and that can limit what you have to do and pay and all that. But if you don't, then you typically would pay alimony for half the length of the marriage. So if you have a 4-year marriage or 3.5-year marriage, you pay for half that time at whatever rate that comes out to based on your incomes, and split whatever property was acquired during the marriage. So if they didn't have a prenup, then that would be a lot, I'm sure. But honestly, probably wouldn't be, like I think 2.5 Men ended before they even got married. So like she wouldn't be entitled to any of that. So for someone with his kind of resources, I mean, yes, there'd be stuff she's entitled to, but I'm sure there's a lot of separate property in there too.
So being his third divorce, and let's say I don't know, like you said, 2.5 Men ended, and let's say, I know he has other shows probably to his credit, but let's say he went bankrupt. Like who's the first creditor? Like, is it the first wife gets priority, second or third, or is this like by default? How does that work?
Well, so you actually can't bankrupt support. So even if you bankrupt everything else, you still have to pay your support to all of them. They cannot be listed as creditors that you can get out of paying. So they would any support order is priority. Now, do you actually pay it is the question. And, there's tools to collect it, like garnishing his wages and stuff. But when you calculate what he's going to owe to the third wife, you do have to factor in what he's already paying to previous wives. So yes, those wives technically have priority because the third wife's amount is going to be lower because he's already got obligations to other people. But you assume she has to know that when she marries him.
So the lesson is be first in line, be the first wife.
Be the first wife of the rich guy, not the last wife.
And then the third one gets the leftovers. Okay, that's.
But on the plus side for her, the leftovers, I mean, he's probably making them more now than the previous wife. So hopefully what she gets is higher, like more. Because if the first wife, if they divorce before he's made it big, then you're only entitled as far as spousal support to the standard of living during the marriage. So if he never made the big money in the first marriage, she would never get a share of that first money.
Ooh, okay. I need a second to absorb
that big money. I know it's a lot. It's complicated.
All right, let's put that one on pause. I'm sure there's celebrity stuff, but I mean, I'm sure normal people can relate to this. There's probably normal people with three divorces. They're probably moving on.
Oh yeah, it's not that uncommon now.
All right. Yeah, I think I've met a few guys. Anyway, let's get to the next story here. TheGuardian.com says this is asking Annalisa about relationship. But we're going to change that. We're going to go ask. So I want a divorce, but my wife's past trauma means she won't let me. You need to identify and understand what her evasiveness represents and come together in order to separate. All right, so let's, this is a juicy one. Okay. I believe, okay, so my wife and I have had issues for almost the entirety of our relationship for more than a decade. She struggled with intimacy, compounded with what we think by sexual assault 12 years ago. She then found out she was pregnant, and after an agonizing wait, we confirmed the baby was mine and now have an absolutely incredible child together. After the aftermath of all this, she had a combined diagnosis of PTSD and postnatal depression, during which she ran up huge amounts of debt. She then had an affair with my best friend. I believe both were symptoms of her illness, but her behavior since has prevented me from rebuilding trust. I don't think she's cheating on me, but I'm certain that in any choice between my happiness and her own, mine is considered less important and immediately discounted. I've reached now a point where I want to separate. I've offered a completely equal financial agreement. There's a large difference between our salaries, and I will help her buy a house. However, she threatened to fight for sole custody and refused any financial help, and has said she will move into a council house. While none of this is likely, it doesn't give me any confidence of a quick resolution, and any ongoing recriminations will only hurt my child. Wow, this guy's in a bad situation. So what's the best thing to do here? Because you got the child and you got the mother, and it's just complicated.
Yeah, these situations get very, very complicated, and there's lots of options. What you really need to do is talk it through with someone to get your options presented to you and get, a good feel for strategy and what's going to be the most beneficial thing for your family and protect your child and all of that. So this is when you definitely want to at least consult with the lawyer to get an idea of what options are out there for you, what you can do to protect yourself and your child. But you also don't want to spend an arm and a leg on your divorce. So if you can avoid it. So that I really recommend. Just a lot of consults are even free. Get a consult, get some ideas of strategy and your options.
All right. Okay, this is interesting. We're gonna go. I'm just clicking on interesting headlines here. So this one is from. This is a fun name, bestlifeonline.com. So 5 red flags that spell divorce, therapist says. Let's see. So switch, number 1 is switch from we to me. Number 2, one partner is pulling away. Number 3, one partner is stonewalling. Number 4, we live like roommates. Number 5, your ratio of positive to negative interaction is low. So as a general rule here, couples that are happy have approximately 20 positive reactions to every one negative interaction. Couples that are struggling to bond have 5-to-1 ratio, and couples that are on the brink of divorce have equal number of positive and negative interactions. Wow, okay, so you can count these things, and
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I don't think most people live their life thinking that way, but I guess if you step back to try to look at the big picture, you can focus on, okay, when I think about it, how many, is there more good than bad? It's hard to quantify this kind of stuff, but a lot of this is also just a vibe. Do I feel like there's so much more bad than good? Do I feel like, I'm an afterthought? And it's like peeling away at the layers. I remember one law school professor I had talked about an onion and peeling away at the layers of the onion. And it's like, is there enough left at the core that there's something to save? And I think, you kind of look at it like that. And if there is, then you can work on replacing the layers. And if there's not, then it's time to move on.
I have a solution to this. This is like what I do when I film myself playing tennis. Like, there should be like cameras that you could. I mean, there's no privacy anymore anyway. There's cameras everywhere, but yeah, that would, because you're right. It's like subjective. Like, oh yeah, I said this, but maybe husbands do this thing where it's like, I guess, passive aggressive, where you're saying a good thing, but it's not. I don't know if that makes sense, but you could like film this stuff like a reality TV show, and then like at the end get feedback from the audience, maybe save some marriages.
Well, that's a good idea for a show. I mean, everything is on camera now. Everybody's got Ring, and I can't even tell you how many clients send me Ring videos to show me proof of stuff. So yeah, like you could have a reality show on that. It's a good point. There you go. Go be a producer.
No. At least you get like a third party who's not biased feedback. If you ask like one of your neighbors or your friends, because they had to take a side.
It's
like
true.
Uncomfortable. Yeah. So I don't know. It's who knows? Maybe it'll come up one of these days. All right. Moving on here, we have so many topics we go through. We're thinking of TV ideas. We're covering billionaire financial settlements. I mean, we're all over the place, and we're just having fun today. All right, so let's get into the part of the show where we ask Emily anything. People post online whether they're starting their divorce journey, things like, life after divorce, dating comes up, things like, financial things like selling the house that the couple lived in, now they can't live in it. So first topic here is life after divorce. Is anyone going through divorce regret it? So I told my husband of 7 years, together for 14, that I'm considering divorce. I care for him and love him a lot, but we haven't been intimate for too long. He's been suffering from chronic pain and other ailments for 10 years. He's finally doing better. He's ready to be intimate again, but 10 years of just living together as roommates, and rightfully so, since he's struggling to get through each day, have killed any romantic feelings I had for him. He's an amazing person, very kind. I feel like I'm stuck. Do I stay with my best friend and live a comfortable, unromantic life, or do I leave this extremely secure life in person, break up our perfect family to try and find romance elsewhere? Like, is it better to find the grass isn't greener and I'm making the biggest mistake of my life?
That's a really tough question. I mean, the problem is that you have to decide what's right for you, because some people are fine with that comfortable roommate feeling and they're happy just being with somebody that they know cares about them, even if it's not romantic. And some people aren't. Some people want that romance and that spark. So, only you can decide that. But you have to assume that if you're going to live like roommates, it's not going to get better and it's not going to change. And if you feel you need that romance in your life, then it probably needs to change and isn't going to be, a long-lasting marriage. All
right. This next one is another life after divorce, talking about your exes. Do you find yourself talking about your ex a lot to their family and friends, telling stories and other good times just because they were such a big part of your life? I've been split for 4 years and we have a daughter. Most of the time we're co-parenting, and have been somewhat friends the last year or two, and sometimes hang out as a family for our daughter. We had really good times when we were together, but I would never get back together because he was toxic, and when living together and when we were sharing finances and responsibilities, I've been over him since before the divorce was even final. But in these 4 years, I've dated, but nothing serious. I was with my ex for my 30s and a few years of my 20s. I just wonder what my friends and family think, and is it normal to talk about your ex who was a big part of your life?
Well, it's certainly normal to talk about your ex who was a big part of your life. I mean, this is sort of the opposite of the other post, because that post is like, do I stay with this wonderful person who's like my best friend, even though there's no passion? And this one's like, I'm talking about this person that it wasn't nice to me, but that passion was obviously there, right? Like, you need both. Like, one isn't enough. It can't just be your best friend with no passion, and it can't be a person you're passionate about that isn't your friend and is mean to you, right? Like, you have to find that happy medium where you have the passion and the person treats you well. That's what makes the relationship healthy.
All right, a last post of the day is a getting started one. I got married in May. I recently found out my husband was cheating on me. There's been other factors that have led me to this decision. Not contributing financially, his addiction to porn and emotional abuse. I guess my question is an annulment feasible in this instance, or just a full-blown divorce the only way out?
Well, it depends what state you're in. I mean, in California, annulments are very hard to get. There has to be like an actual fraud, something fraudulent, like somebody told you they were one religion and they're not, something that would go to like the core of, you wouldn't have married them if you knew that, or like they were already married, but then your marriage wouldn't even need an annulment. Your marriage would just be void. Abuse is not a reason for an annulment in California. You would have to go through a regular divorce. You could certainly get protection from the abuse and deal with the abuse in the divorce, but they wouldn't annul a marriage based on that. An annulment has to be based on something that, like, had you known this about the person, it goes to the core of the marriage. You would have not married them.
So pretty much just like any other couple, commonly they would get the divorce.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's the last post of the day. Thanks so much for joining us on the Modern Divorce podcast, and we will see you next week.
Bye.